Tebah, ark, as in Noah's ark. When and where did this Egyptian Paleo-Hebrew word originate from? And what is its true meaning? What is not known about the word Tebah? Many persons may know and have heard of course, the Noah's Ark. However, Tebah can be traced to the ancient Hebrew that Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, known as Paleo-Hebrew. However, the word Tebah for ark, as in Noah's Ark, was invented also in means and translates the same thing in ancient Egyptian Middle Kingdom language dating back to about 1800 to 1650 BCE. The word Tebah in ancient Paleo-Hebrew or Egyptian translates in 3 definitions: coffin, box, or chest. However, this raises the question, does this mean that Noah's Ark was a coffin? Of course not. For common sense logic and rationalogical deductive reasoning dictates that a coffin's only purpose is to contain the remains of a dead human being or animal. We know that Noah's Ark contained alive, not dead human beings and animals in it. If all of the human beings which in the ark, which were Noah and his family, were dead, then the first and primary point is you and I would not be alive today having this discussion. Therefore, we can rule out the word coffin having any application to Noah's Ark whatsoever. Now let's take the first word, box. If Noah's Ark could be in the same shape of a rectangular box-like structure as seen, similar to what is seen above, in its simplest form, the ark would have a 6-to-1 ratio. In other words, it's 6 times longer than it is wider. Navies around the world have been using this ratio for over 150 years to build some of the world's largest ships. However, what about the shape of Noah's Ark? Again, there's only 2 words left out of the translation, which are box and or chest. There, the ark's shape is either as seen above as a rectangular box-like shape or a chest-like shape. However, is a box and chest shape the same thing as far as the shape of Noah's Ark is concerned? Maybe not. Why? Well, we previously discussed that the word Tebah, ark, was an Egyptian borrowed loan word that could be traced back to the Egyptian Middle Kingdom from about 822-50 BC or so to 1650 BC. According to the biblical chronology, Moses would have written the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, between 1525 to 1500 BCE. About 125 years before Moses wrote the Torah, the word ark, Tebah, was likely a little different and more accurate in a simpler form. Now, how is this changed from 2350 BC until about 6051 BC, right after the flood and after, let's say, the first world empire came through, which of course was Egypt. The word ark, Tebah, was likely different. And yet, between the time the first Egyptian world empire formed, possibly sometime after 2350 BCE, then, of course, the word Tebah was different. Here, it was pronounced as simply Tebet. Dr. Rami Samir Farak Mina, Ph.D., whose expertise and specialties are ancient Egyptology and Semitic languages in relation to biblical archaeology, provides a much deeper understanding and insights into the word Tebah as follows. Number 1. From the approximate biblical chronological date of 2400 BC, when Noah came out of the ark, and until about 1651 BCE, the word Tebah was pronounced in a much simpler form as Tebah. However, when relating to the words box or chest, the word Tebah in its original form meant Tebah, as said. However, it's even more detailed and described than is normally known. We will illustrate next in this video as follows how this is so. In order to get a correct understanding of the word Tebah and exactly what shape Noah's Ark was, according to Dr. Mina, then what we have to do is go back to when the first world power, Egypt, first formed right after the flood, sometimes between 2300 and 2250 BCE. As aforementioned, the word Tebah was simply pronounced as Tebah. Now, the word box and chest, when Noah came out of the ark, meant the same basic thing. However, as we see in the illustration above, marked A to the right, one is a hieroglyphic Egyptian symbol that dates back to around 2250 BCE that showed that the end of a box had a triangular-like shape on both ends, as we see here. Number 2 is a foot, or can also mean movement. Number 3 verifies number 1 as far as the hieroglyphic shape or symbol that a box or chest was considered to be in the case of Noah's Ark. And 4 shows that this is how the inside of Noah's Ark was shaped, as a rectangular box, or as we see where the arrow points down from the number 4. So put in simpler terms, what we see in the above rectangular box area that has the 2 triangles on each end was the original drawing and way Noah's Ark and was considered to be a box or chest, according to the ancient Egyptian word Tebah. However, this stayed understood this way from 2250 to 1651 BCE approximately. Then the word simply said as Tebah for ark in relation to Noah's Ark then was changed in 1650 BCE, as we see the rectangular box on the bottom, and the word was no longer pronounced Tebah, but was now pronounced Tebah instead. And what happened is that the triangular-like shaped areas on both ends of the box were removed, and the shape was changed to see what we see in the rectangular box as seen below. From about 1650 BCE, Tibet was changed to Tebah, and eventually a box was as we see above. And that is basically how that came about. So, how does this apply to other type chests and boxes seen in ancient Egypt after 1650 BCE? We're going to take a look at that next. However, we also know that the ark's shape is important to be able to know what it looks like and be able to find it on Greater Mount Ararat. Dr. Mina's credentials are as follows. Dr. Rami Samir Mina, PhD, is a specialist in archaeology and ancient Egyptian language specialization in relation to biblical archaeology, and he's a polyglot Egyptologist tourist guide in 7 living languages since March of 1992. His PhD of archaeology is also attributed and applicable to Egyptian language, ancient Egyptian language specialization. He studied and holds a number of academic degrees in Egyptology from the Faculty of Arts at Tanta University. Dr. Mina studied and has profound, in-depth academic education and knowledge regarding any and all areas of the sciences in relation to ancient Egyptian and Semitic languages, Egyptology and archaeology, biblical archaeology, in like manner. Dr. Mina has studied and has several academic degrees in Egyptology from Cairo University. Additionally, he is a specialized expert in ancient Semitic languages, and he's degreed in these as well from Ain Shams University. He further studied and has degrees from the Sadat Academy for Management Sciences. Dr. Mina is also academically degreed in 7 living languages and is one of the few polyglot Egyptology tour guides, if not the only one, as well. We just learned in Strong's Hebrew Concordance that the word Tebah, when translated in Paleo-Hebrew and also Egyptian, means coffin, and we know the ark is not a coffin, and box and chest. However, if it was translated just box, then that's the only way it would be translated in both Hebrew and Egyptian, but it is not. Therefore, are all chest also translated in Egyptian the same? Would they be a rectangular-like box in which we would maybe see the ark? Or, when the word is translated in Egyptian as well, are there many different kinds of shapes in Egyptian chests as well? Let's take a look. In the center of the upper picture, we see a chest that is upright, surrounded by the Egyptian goddess known as Isis. However, in this article, it reads, numerous ancient discoveries have been found and excavated where there have been strange, numerous looking chests in these discoveries, in so many words. Therefore, since there have been so many strange chests excavated in Egyptian pyramids, then certainly they are not the same shape. They would not all be a chest that would be shaped like a box. Let's look at some examples of this. Here are some examples of several different kinds of Egyptian chest. Here we see one that's more like a box. Here we see one that's semi-triangular. And again, If we watch, we see that here is another one that is vertical and semi-triangular as well. And here, especially where the red lines are, we can see that it is semi-triangular, and of course this is a chest, but it is not rectangular in shape, and nor is it square. But do we see different chests also from other cultures as a rectangular box? We'll notice in these next Chinese or Oriental type chest from 12th century to 8th century BCE certainly are triangular when we look at them, which is very, very interesting indeed. But what about other types of chest? Are they rectangular and square? Let's take a look at those as well, as we now see here and also here, and triangular there. Much more will be revealed in our upcoming book, which here we see the book cover entitled Noah's Ark, predecessor to the pyramids, by Ronald Stewart, Ph.D., Ph.D., Dr. Rami Samir Farak Mina, Ph.D., and Alan Serson, which will be available sometimes between May and June 2017. Be looking for it. Thank you for watching this video.